Looks like we're live here with Keith, the Rhino, Owen. Well, this person's last name is Rhinos. It just joined us.
Hey everybody, we're gonna do an interview here with James Foster here. Just a minute, I'm gonna let everybody come on board. We'll get going.
We've got one person on mine. How many on yours, Keith?
I have 600, James.
What?
600, dude.
Oh, I have 601 now.
I can't help it if they all want to. They all want to hear your interview. That's why they're coming over mine. They want to hear my interview.
From your perspective.
Yeah, they don't want to.
Yeah, one person wants to. One person. Oh, two people would like to know what Keith Owen.
Right. See, they don't want to. They don't want to hear your interview.
They just want to see my show-your-roll collection.
Yes, I'm gonna spin here and.
Oh, that show the
layer.
The nerd layer.
This is the nerd layer. I'm gonna go back around here again.
See, everybody just thought I was a jiu-jitsu guy. Now they're gonna know I'm a big nerd. But I heard nerds rule the world, right? So, I guess that's not bad.
This is the inner world headquarters of James Foster. Secretly, I just think he hasn't grown up.
Keith, why you got to be showing everybody all my nerdy artwork here?
Hey, I'm going into drawers.
You're
going into the drawers.
Oh no! Don't do that.
See what's in the drawers here. All right. Well. All right. So this is the first, I think, in recorded history.
We're gonna say it's the first ever double Periscope BJJ interview.
Yes.
To take place.
And we have absolutely no idea what we're gonna ask each other because we didn't want to plan this. So you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right, and I'm not going to ask you about your show-your-roll-gis yet. I'm saving that for a while.
My psychological problem with hoarding show-your-roll-gis.
I think he has a problem. We'll go in depth. All right, who's your instructor, James? Tell me about him. My
instructor is Jiva, the arm collector Santana. The original arm collector. I believe he had 15... I might be misquoting, don't quote me on it, but I think he had 14 or 15 finishes first round armbar in his MMA fights. So he's the original arm collector. Had that nickname a long time ago. He's under Lotus Club Jiu-Jitsu. I've known Jiva since about 1997, I want to say, 97 or 98. And one of the most down-to-earth, humble, nice people you'll meet, with a really big heart, very selfless, and combination of that with amazing jiu-jitsu. Very much a combination you don't see a lot of times. So very honored to be a black belt under him and to call him my professor.
Let me follow up on that. What do you think of Pedro Sauer?
I love Professor Sauer, or Master Sauer. Every time I've trained with him, I've gained a lot of great experience and picked up a lot of great details. And he's just a great person to be around. And you know, I always learn a lot from him. I was really inspired to hear that he looks at new techniques all the time, and he keeps up with all of the things people are working on, and that he just loves all jiu-jitsu. You know, I remember him saying even if he doesn't plan on adding something to his game, he'll still want to understand how it works, even in the newer stuff like worm guard and whatever it may be. He looks at the videos, and he just loves jiu-jitsu in general. So that passion he has after being in jiu-jitsu for how long he has, very inspiring to me, and I think that's the right attitude for any black belt to have, for anybody that's been in jiu-jitsu for a long time. The journey doesn't stop just because you're a black belt. I think that's really important for people to understand.
Hey, Professor, I see that you just joined. That's awesome. James was just talking about you, but I don't know if you caught that whole thing. So anyway, you'll have to go back and replay it. He said something good about you, though. All right, give me a question. Don't make it too hard. Blue. Blue, my favorite color.
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue.
Yeah?
I like blue geese.
Gotcha.
Because it's my favorite color. So
nice.
That was an awesome question.
You can't feed yourself your own questions.
Oh.
So.
Oh. All right. Well, Hillary Clinton. Oh, forget it.
No, let's not get into politics.
Let's not go there.
No. Two things friends don't discuss: religion and politics, right? If they want to stay friends.
All right, ask your question.
All right. So, what do you think about blue belts or purple belts or lower ranking people opening up their own academies?
Well, back in the 90s when I started doing jiu-jitsu, there was nobody out and about. There were no black belts, very few. Professor Sauer was one of the black belts that I could go to, but there was probably 3 black belts and four black belts that I had seen in the country at that time. So opening up a school as a blue belt, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I was a lower belt and I opened up a school. But the question is, do we want to do it today?
Yeah, that would be my follow-up question.
I'm okay with it. Especially in towns where there's no jiu-jitsu. I mean, there are some towns in the middle of the country that have no jiu-jitsu whatsoever. So if a blue belt opens up an academy, okay, I guess you're getting what you're paid for, as a student. So I'm not totally against it.
You would want some level of quality control.
Quality control, right.
They're under a good association. Somebody's checking in on them, making sure that they're doing things the way they're supposed to and not going out of line and doing... promoting people when they shouldn't be.
Well, blue belts shouldn't be promoting anybody.
Exactly.
They bring the instructor in, and they bring their black belts in, and that's the key to that. If they're promoting their own people, I'm completely against that. Completely against it. Violently. Does it enrage you? It enrages me if you're going to be promoting people like that.
I agree.
Without your instructor's permission. If your instructor gives you permission, great. But I don't think you should.
Yeah.
So.
That was a good one.
Did you have a follow-up? You could follow up if you want, or did I...
No, you covered it all. You're just that good. Just that good.
How big is your school, James?
Student-wise or space-wise?
Both. Might as well.
School is about 5,500 square feet. We've got about close to 3,000 square feet of matted space. Our school is one of the biggest schools in the Pacific Northwest that's solely dedicated to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We don't have an MMA program or anything like that. The only thing we do offer is a basic, we call it MMA 101. It's just where people can come in and learn some basic punching and kicking and takedowns and that type of thing. So, but everything else is Jiu-Jitsu oriented. And student-wise, I think we have about over 250 students right now. Quality over quantity, like all really good people. I strive very hard to have good people at my gym and a nice atmosphere for people to train in where they can feel comfortable no matter what. So I like to say it's their sanctuary from the outside world, so I want to make sure I provide an environment where there's no judgment or, any pressures put on them in that way. They should just be able to come in and train and lose themselves in the training.
You had a couple fighters in the UFC, though, haven't you?
I've had a couple.
Who are those?
Yeah, I've had Jeff Hoagland. He had 3 fights in there. And I've got my friend Anthony, the Freight Train Hamilton, that trains with me. He's another big dude like me, one of the heavyweights, and he's still in the UFC. He has a fight coming up, I believe, around the end of September. So he comes in and works his jiu-jitsu with me because he's an all-American collegiate wrestler and he's also a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, so there's not too many places he can go where he's going to get pushed on his ground game. So we want to make sure we keep him sharp and have him be the highest level he can possibly be. So he comes in and works with me, and he's a tough dude, man. And not too many people on that level wrestling and jiu-jitsu wise.
Wow, that's awesome.
Now I have to think of a question for you. What do you think of show you roll?
Why are you asking me that, dude? Why you got to go there on that?
I gotta get your impression, man.
Uh,
Or maybe what do you think about my show your roll collection? There you go.
well, I'm not going to say anything about your collection right now. I'm still saving that. But
Oh, okay.
I personally think the show you roll is some awesome geese.
Choose your words wisely.
No, I'm just joking. Show your rolls awesome geese, man. They look great. They look great on everybody. They're just very in fad right now, and that's. I mean, some people really like it, and some people don't.
The hot thing,
They're just a hot thing, yeah. And I just kind of, and this is not a problem, but it's a problem. It's hard to get show your roll geese, and that's why everyone likes them, because they're so. But they're fine geese. They're great. They're great quality. I mean, there's no.
I think if it's to each their own. So if somebody likes show your roll, great. If they are more comfortable in another brand gi, great. You know, because really at the end of the day, a gi's a gi. You know, I just happen to prefer show your roll because they fit me better than any other brand. And my biggest thing with them is that there's good people behind the brand. And to me, that's more important than just being able to say that you're sponsored by a cool brand. I like the fact that the people do a lot of good.
Yep.
You know, and it could very well be a different brand, but that's the type of people I want to support. So I probably preemptively answered one of your questions that you were thinking about asking.
What? How many?
Somebody says too much hype on show your roll. Can they make it more accessible? Yeah, I think they're doing some things you'll see in the future that's going to make it more accessible for you guys. So don't worry, don't fret.
How many geese do you have, by the way, back there, James?
Back behind me here, there's about 46 geese, 47. That's a little less than half of my total collection. So I've got that new wardrobe behind me that I just built, so I could display my collection nicely and appreciate it more, because I just had, you know, it was very hard to keep up with the stacks of geese. And I think if you have a nice collection like that, you should be able to appreciate it and put it on display.
How many people you got on there, James?
I've got 6.
All right. I might be having bad quality here on my...
Oh, yeah?
Tell me, can you guys hear this? Can you hear James very well? Because if not, I will get out and try this again.
Keith doesn't have an iPhone, so he's having troubles right now. Though I will say his phone, somebody said they couldn't log into yours. Somebody else said yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to go off, and I'm going to come back, so stand by.
All right, he's going to log off and come back on, so you guys might be able to get back on his here in a minute. But for now, feast your eyes on this glorious gentleman here.
So ask me another question. I'm ready here.
Let's see. We did how long have you been training now? In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
22 years.
Wow. So you started around the time a little bit before I did. So were you actually training prior to people learning about Jiu-Jitsu through the UFC?
Nope, I watched the UFC and I said, hey man, I got to do this. This is when Hoist Gracie was
same
beating
here.
the crap out of Dan Severn.
Yep.
And so I'm doing part 2 on this, James.
I think Brad just joined.
Sup, Brad? All right, hopefully this will help.
All right, Keith's got his back up and running.
So in 22 years I've been doing it, you know, and I found Professor Sauer in Salt Lake, and there was very few people to go train. And I said, I have to do this, because you instantly see something, you go, okay, I want to do this with my life.
Right.
And that's what I did, and it's been a miraculous thing. So, I've seen Jiu-Jitsu change so much. It used to be self-defense oriented, now they've moved it to sport, and it might come back around self-defense. But it's really changed, but yet it's not changed enough, I think. You know, it hasn't grown where I'd like to see it. It needs to be a bigger sport.
Would you like to see more of a balance between sport and self-defense oriented, to where people are working on everything as opposed to choosing one or the other.
My personal feeling is I want to balance everything, James.
Yeah.
It should be people come in for self-defense. They they don't just go, I want to be a world champion jiu-jitsu guy and show up on your doorstep.
Right.
They want self-defense, and then they move over to into the sport aspect. And I always try to teach them the self-defense because they're gonna quit. You're gonna have 80% of the people quit jiu-jitsu, but I'd like them to know some stuff. So.
Right. They're always gonna have that self-defense at least in the back of their head.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very important.
Yeah, so I'm good with both, but there's a huge division right now, and I mean I don't really care.
Yeah, I think it shouldn't be a thing of what's better than the other or anything like that. I think people should be training all aspects and trying to be as well-rounded as possible and have I think the goal should always be a complete mastery of jiu-jitsu, and I think self-defense is a big part of that. So anybody that's leaving that aspect out, and they're kind of limiting themselves.
Yeah.
And I understand all the different sides of the debate and everything. And personally, I wouldn't say that we do a lot of quote unquote self-defense at my school as far as like, defense against the headlock, this or that. But everything I show it in a manner of where it's self-defense applicable, and we have punches in mind and body positioning and things like that. So, I think my academy could probably benefit from a little more of the basic self-defense, to be honest with you.
Do you have an association or anything that you do personally? Do you have affiliates and stuff?
Yeah, I have affiliates. I have my first affiliate was Combat Sport and Fitness. They're out in Enumclaw, Washington. And then we have over in Maple Valley, I have Phantom BJJ. And then up in Bellevue, I have Ring Sports United, which is a boxing gym. But I have one of my black belts there that runs the gi program and does classes a couple days a week up there. So those are all Team Foster affiliates. So I just have the few schools right now.
And so do you visit them a lot?
I try to get out whenever I can. You know how it is when you're busy. But anytime they coordinate with me and ask me to if I could come out, I make a priority to get out there and check in. I was just out at my affiliate in Maple Valley here a few weeks ago, and it was real good to see the progress. Oh, somebody says that. Oh, it's Robert Barker. He just made it to Boise. He's watching this while he's waiting for his bag at the airport.
Well, Robert, I'll be back. So I'll be seeing you this week. So
he's got a little bit of a drive ahead of him, Robert.
Yeah, a little bit. So
all right, whose question was it now?
I think it's yours. I think it's your question.
My question. Well, I heard you. This is off jiu-jitsu topic. I heard you say that you had some comic books. What kind of comic books did you collect when you were younger?
I collected Amazing Spider-Man comics.
Nice.
That is who I specialize in, and I got a ton of them. They might be worth some money now.
Yeah.
I don't know, but they're sitting in my closet. And Amazing Spider-Man. That's what I.
What years were you collecting? Like what time period?
70s.
70s.
Yeah,
nice. So you do have some that are worth money in there then.
Yeah. So. But, everybody needs to collect something. I really feel that way. You're a collector. I can tell that.
Oh, yeah.
You collect a lot of things. I think everybody should have a collection. Right now, I just want to collect money. That is...
Keith, the money collector.
Well, I
Owen.
need to.
Nice.
Yeah, my wife has made that a priority.
Oh, okay. Maybe she's watching on here.
Yeah, maybe so.
Careful what you say.
You tell me about the medals you won. You've gone to some tournaments and
I'm not
at the Worlds or something like that.
Well, I did the Master World. I took silver in the Master Worlds in 2013. It was probably one of my best performances to date. I had 4 matches. I just barely lost in the final on points. So yeah, I really since then I really strung together a bunch of wins. I won 3 of the belts at the 5 grappling tournament in Oregon last year. I won double gold at the first ever IBJJF Seattle Open Championship. And then I went to Master Worlds last year, ended up losing in my first match, and made a little mistake and ended up losing on points.
That's how it is.
Yeah,
Just make one mistake.
The only way to not lose is to not get out there. So if you compete, you're gonna lose, guys. I mean, doesn't matter how good you are. Everybody loses. It's just a matter of what you do with that. What you take away from it and how you let it impact you. You can either get really upset and whine about it, or you can improve the mistakes you made and move on. I personally think that you should compete at least once to kind of see what it's all about, see how you handle the pressure. But competition's not for everybody, and I don't force my students to compete. But I think God willing, it may be the closest somebody gets to a real life altercation. So it's kind of a good test for them to be able to go in there and see how they handle the nerves and handle that adrenaline and everything else. And I think for the guys that compete more often, it helps to point out holes in your game that maybe you're not otherwise seeing because you're training with the same people all the time. And I know for me personally, that's why I compete, is to go in there and see where I'm making mistakes, because when you train with the same people all the time, you don't always get those little holes in your game and those mistakes exposed.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so this is the portion of this interview where you can ask James a question or ask me a question.
All right, guys. James. If you have a
question,
I think somebody posted on mine, has Keith ever competed, or does he compete?
When I was a purple belt, I competed a lot. I did a lot of tournaments back in the day. And then I was busy with my business in Idaho, and so I didn't compete a lot. But I had my students compete, and then I competed at the U.S. Nationals. I don't know, 4 years ago, something like that. I'm not against competing; that's fine. But I think it's a great idea. Competing is a great idea. But what do you do with medals, man? I just throw them in a box.
Yeah, put them in a drawer.
Put them in a drawer, or put them up on my wall in the studio, and we got plenty of those. So I'm more concerned about my students competing, and I compete all the time. Every day I'm out there rolling, and I have no problem grappling with anybody. But I just don't want to take a lot of time and go and spend money and go to a tournament. It's just not what I want to do. I'm focusing on a teacher.
Yeah, same here. For me, it's a matter of, I think the impact we have on people's lives and the type of students that we produce and the type of people they become, that's going to be, that influence that we've had through that is going to be remembered long before any, championship win or something that we may have. So that's not to say competition's not cool. It's just, I don't want that to be what I'm remembered for. I want the impacts I've had on people's lives and the things that I've done to help people. That's what I want to be remembered for.
Do you I got a question here. Did you, see if I can remember it. Do you have specific moves that you train for in competition, or do you just kind of flow with it when you're out there?
I try to stick with my game that I play in the academy, because that's the game that I know best. So it's not like I'm going to go out and do a completely different game.
You have your go-to moves.
I have my go-to moves. I think you should always play your A game when you're in a competition. I think the problem is that people, a lot of times, because they are training with the same people day in, day out, a lot of their A game starts getting shut down because people start figuring it out. And then they get away from it in training. And then they start to deviate from that, and sometimes they'll let them throw them off, and when they go in the competition, they won't be playing their A game. And what they don't think about is the guys in the tournament don't know what you're going to do. They don't know your A game. So just because it's not working at the academy doesn't mean that you shouldn't stick to that when you go in the tournament. And I'm not a big game plan guy. For me personally, I don't work good that way, because if you have a strict plan of how everything's supposed to work out and then one thing doesn't go to your plan, you have to be able to adapt. And I've seen a lot of people that try to follow a strict game plan, and then one thing they didn't plan for happens and they completely melt down. So for me, I know all my jiu-jitsu's in here going out there, and I just try to relax and let my jiu-jitsu flow.
Do you roll a lot of no-gi or gi more?
Mainly gi.
Do you do much no-gi?
Not a lot.
Right.
You know, personally, I think if you're training the right way, that it shouldn't be this big detrimental thing if you take your gi off. I think jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu. So when we do no-gi at my academy, like we'll do a week of no-gi or something here or there throughout the summer, I play the same game. I do the same moves. It's not this big earth-shattering thing. You know, I think it was funny when we did that no-gi week. I had people not come to class. Oh, I'm not going to come to class and do no-gi. I don't like no-gi. And it's like, why? Jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu. It's changes as much as you change it in your mind when it comes to no-gi and gi. So I think people make it bigger than it is. You know, a bigger change than it should be. I know my professor, he said that they just, you know, oh, there's a no-gi tournament this month in Brazil. All right, and take their gi off and go to the tournament and compete. It wasn't this big. Oh, we gotta train the whole month no-gi to get ready, and you know, they just took their gis off and went and competed jiu-jitsu. I have a question that just came in here. It said, have you ever trained in another martial art, and why or why not?
Have I ever trained?
Yeah, I think
I
it was for both of us, but I'll let you.
I have 2 stand-up black belts too, and one I have a black sash in a martial art called Wu Wei Gung Fu, and my instructor.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it means spontaneous action. It's kind of like jiu-jitsu, you know. And my instructor was a student of Bruce Lee's. His name's Joe Cals, and Joe took lessons from Bruce Lee back in when Bruce Lee was in Seattle. And
very cool.
He was a postman, and then he moved to Idaho, and
nice.
And I was fortunate enough to learn. I have so many cool Bruce Lee stories and everything like that. And so, yeah, stand-up's great. I have a lot of stand-up background. So, how about you, James?
I actually did a style of karate called Amka-jitsu, and it's funny, they kind of classified it as karate, but it was more like Jeet Kune Do. It was more, you know, if it works, we use it kind of motto. They take things from other styles. And I actually did that for almost 10 years prior to branching off and doing jiu-jitsu. So I hold a first-degree black belt in that style, you know, along with my third-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu. All right, so
that's kind of good.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? We're about to shut this down for the day.
How many people?
Hi, Ari, by the way.
How many people you have on yours?
I have 2.
I have 6. So they all want to see you.
Well, of course. I mean, that's... But I don't have any cool gis.
Oh, here. People want to... If they want to see the gi wardrobe. Oh, there it is. All right, they'd rather see you.
And I don't have anything else. I mean, I could come up with some more questions, but we don't want to bore you guys. We just wanted to come on here on a Sunday and
well, and I just want to say it's an honor having Keith Owen staying at my house. And you know, Keith, you're a good friend of mine. You're amongst a list of very few people I would call a very good friend, and it's been great having you here. Look at that.
Let's look in his drawers, though.
Oh no! Don't go into that one.
No.
No.
That's the steroid drawer.
Yeah, right.
Steroid.
That one's off limits.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you having me here. I really like your whole wardrobe that you got going on there. So, anyway, hey, we appreciate you guys coming on and watching this. The first in the history of Periscope, right?
History of Periscope.
Double interview.
Double BJJ interview.
And we did it. So, you know, sorry here on Gracie. You didn't beat us to it.
Groundbreaking.
All right, brother.
All right, guys.
See you guys later.
Later.